Okay, so the coronavirus is basically a pandemic that's um, it's it's just the first wave, and what happens is that the coronavirus goes and fluctuates, creates hotspots in the regions. In the island of Puerto Rico, it could be in San Juan, where there's a big population that could be affected, and then it can lower the volume, the rate of infections, or it could just spread to another municipality, and then there's another infection rate, and it can be also extremely high. So, what that means is basically that the system as a whole has to change regarding the way it's functioning, from labor to production, etc. That's just the first wave, the coronavirus. There's other waves that are going to come from the coronavirus. And so the question is, how are we going to prepare? Looking at the alternatives, we know that the currency inflation rate in the US is extremely high. They know it. They know that most of their factories leave the US for cheaper rate in wages, and for maximizing the surplus of the manufacturing. But if we look at those circumstances, there's countries that try to place their reserves in the US. The outcome is heavily affected in the US. The coronavirus spread in the US. If you look at New York City, quantum leaped in New York City. Quantum leaped in China. Quantum leaped in what else? In Iran. So in Italy. So a lot of these areas in Spain, a lot of these manufacturing areas and production of labor, etc., are extremely affected. And again, the rate, sometimes the coronavirus will create hotspots. And people are not going to work the same way they were working. So we need to create a barter system, but we know that basically the barter system itself is reliant on labor and production. So we're going to need the state to be the almost as communism was, where the government is the one that control of the manufacturing and production. And it's because of the way the depression rate, the pandemic rates, and how long it could be around. We don't know how long this pandemic can be around. And what we want to do is make sure that people are staying in quarantine instead of like going to labor and produce so that they can have some form of money trade exchange. And so the state itself is going to have a military force that is basically that the state has to have youth serve in regards for production means. And that production is not going to be really based on trade. It's going to be production, but it's based on making sure that the system itself remains intact with full surplus, which is the most important thing, like important infrastructure, electrical, and water, etc. All those three components are the most important infrastructures. You got communication with electrical. You have full surplus because of the maybe the environmental effect, maybe the outsource effect, meaning exports coming into your country. So those are the main objectives that need to be tackled under dire circumstances. If there's other solutions in regards to currency exchanges and in regards to banking, etc., they're all going to take a hit, no matter how you look at it. Less people are going to be trading, more people are going to be unemployed, and we need to make sure that all these people, one is their moratorium on paying of taxes or building businesses, and moratorium of repoing people's houses, because we don't want people to be homeless because they can't work and pay, and interest rates or loans and all types of usury. We need a moratorium on all of those things, and we need to go back to this kind of form of governance, where it used to be actually in Christendom, the history of Christendom, where Christian kings used to basically rule the feudal lords, and for production, and that production used to be targeted to different municipalities. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. Unfortunately, that's the way it has to be until the economic system basically transforms itself into a different type of system. We still don't know that, but we're waiting for it. Take care. God bless.